Cannabis Common Sense, the show that tells the truth about marijuana and the politics behind its prohibition.
We want to let everybody know that we're law-abiding citizens and that we respect the law. So let's
relax it and tax it. Medical marijuana gotta have it. Relax it and tax it. Righteousness, nothing but the blood of Jesus. Oh, precious. Legalize it. Legalize it. Legalize it. Legalize it. Legalize it. Legalize it. I smoke pot and I like it a lot. I smoke pot and I like it a lot. Repeat it. I smoke pot and I like it a lot. I smoke pot and I like it a lot. Marijuana, marijuana. Hey, 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 getting high. Free hemp now, 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 free hemp now. Black and Hispanic. And I like it a lot. I smoke pot and I like it a to run on hemp oil. 1 acre yields 300 gallons of biodiesel. Do you want your fuel dollar going in the pocket of an Arab sheik or an American farmer? Which would you rather see your money to? How many American boys have died for fuel that we... Give me weed or give me death.
Will Oregonians legalize marijuana? That question's not as far out as it may seem. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Tom Adams. Activists are fighting to radically overhaul marijuana laws. In California, voters will soon decide whether to legalize pot for recreational use. As KBAL's Ernie LeBeau shows us, something similar could be in the works for Oregon. It is tonight's top story.
And I give thanks to the Creator every day. Man-made pharmaceuticals, God-made pot. Who do you trust?
For Elvie Musica, the choice is clear. Cannabis calms her ailments. She uses the drug for her glaucoma and to help her body deal with aging.
And I see more and more senior citizens joining our program because we're the ones who really appreciate that we're not, and which I would be without marijuana.
She was one of dozens who joined this global marijuana march and rally in Eugene.
There's still a lot of people that haven't even accepted the fact that marijuana is an acceptable medicine, good alternative medicine.
Jim Gregg says the rally is a way to raise awareness about the many uses of cannabis. Supporters gathered signatures for 2 initiatives they hope to get on the ballot this year. Initiative 28, which would add a dispensary system to the current medical marijuana law that requires patients to produce their own pot. And Initiative 73, which would let people 21 and over grow and use pot without a license and create a commission to regulate the sale of it.
At the national level, the Sheriff's Association.
This retired cop says the best way to handle the cannabis issue is to let each state decide its fate.
We want less government. We want less government involvement in our personal lives, more freedom, and certainly this is one way to do it, which would be to allow adult citizens to choose in the privacy of their own home whether or not to to use cannabis.
In Eugene, I'm Erin LeBeau, KVOW News.
Now, organizers of the Oregon Cannabis Tax Act need to collect 125,000 signatures by early July to get a spot on the ballot this coming November.
While medical marijuana is legal in Oregon, some say it's not enough and that the U.S. needs to change its opinion of the drug. Today, pot activists rallied at Pioneer Courthouse Square, calling for new laws to make lighting up legal for everyone. Groups came out with the goal to educate and change minds regarding marijuana legalization and using hemp for industrial purposes. They also say they even have support from law enforcement.
The majority of police don't want to waste their time or effort on arresting peaceful, nonviolent marijuana smoke. What we're going to do is separate the market from the hard drugs and try to protect children by making sure that it only goes to those over 21 in state-controlled stores.
This is the 11th year for the rally, and more than 300 cities worldwide held similar marches today. Activist groups say they hope to get pot legalization on the next election ballot.
Downtown Portland was busy today. Besides the May Day rally that we told you about, another group got together, but with a very different agenda. This afternoon, supporters of the Global Cannabis March are celebrating their 11th annual rally. Their focus is to legalize the sale of cannabis for all adults, not just for those who need it for medical reasons. The group believes that if pot is made legal, the state's revenue will go up and crime will go down.
We'll raise over $200 million annually in state revenue. That's $400 million in the biennium, and save $70 million annually in court costs, police costs, and prison costs.
That's Paul Stanford, who also thinks if farmers were allowed to grow hemp, the economy would improve.
And it's great that we can come out here and show the world that we can be regular stoners. You know, we can do things right, we can obey the laws, follow the police officers, not get run over, and come back here, sign the petitions. So, and remember, folks, if you came here today and you didn't sign the petition, you weren't here. And you want to be able to prove you were here, so sign the petition if you haven't already. And have your friends sign it. Take it home, a copy with you. Have your neighbors sign it. Have your coworkers. Because it's all about activism. Activism is what gives us our rights. And if you don't exercise your rights, it's like your muscles, they go away. And we don't want what rights we have about cannabis, what few we have, to go away, do we? No. So remember that, because it's going to take every single one of us. There's not enough of us out there that are concerned enough to show up at a place like this. So it takes everybody here to go out there and to make a difference. Talk to your legislatures, because now they're going to be running for office. They're going to be coming asking you for your vote. And that's, they want your vote. So you're going to have to ask them, where do they stand on cannabis, right? So ask them, how do they stand, where they stand with cannabis? How come they aren't on the side of freedom? So, if you have a Republican, conservative legislature, ask them, how come they don't stand with freedom? And if you have a Democratic politician, ask them, how come they don't stand for sensible regulation? Because that's all we want is freedom and sensible regulation. But that's what's got us here so far, is this we're just keep pushing that for freedom. And whatever groups are out there, all these beautiful groups, Normal, THCF, OGF, National Green Friends, everybody. It takes everybody, and that's the beauty of this country, is that there's so many of us out there, and there's a group that we can all join and all have the same common cause, which is legalize cannabis. All right, so as those you may know, I'm Oregon Normal's legal counsel, and I represent a lot of folks with marijuana issues. And I have there's a famous 4 sayings that sometimes works for Anna, sometimes doesn't. So, but these are the sayings that if you ever run into a police officer, whether it's you're on foot, you're in your car, your bicycle, or in your home, and you want to protect your rights, because that's your constitutional right, is not to be interfered with. So remember this, folks. So I'll repeat them, and you folks say them after me. I want to hear it nice and loud. Am I free to go, officer?
Am I free to go, officer?
I do not consent to any searches.
I do not consent to any searches.
I wish to remain silent.
I wish to remain silent.
I wish to speak to my attorney.
I wish to speak to my attorney, Paul Loney.
Woo. All right, remember folks, you got to practice that every single day. Because, you know, when it comes time, when you're in an emergency, you're going to be nervous. So when you're brushing your teeth in the morning, it's like, I wish to remain silent. I wish to talk to my attorney. I do not consent to any searches. You know, when you brush your teeth, use that. Yeah, that's a great reminder. Every day, look in the mirror, brush your teeth. That's right, I have rights. So, and I'll turn it back over to Anna. And again, once again, thanks to everybody that helped put this on today. And thanks to everybody that showed up.
The loud cry and march of activists in Portland hoping to galvanize support to legalize marijuana. Prohibition doesn't work. That's the message from the Oregon chapter of a national group that wants to reform marijuana laws. And those activists made sure their message was heard loud and clear yesterday. Portland and several hundred other cities held a global cannabis march. The event is in its 13th year. Participants gathered in Pioneer Courthouse Square before marching through downtown with a police escort. The organization's executive director says there's been a shift in public sentiment toward more liberal marijuana policies, and they hope the march galvanized support.
About 50% of Americans now support legalization of cannabis for adults, and we think that it could be a great boon to the economy here in Portland and statewide. And between cannabis and legalizing growing of industrial hemp, that we could probably solve a lot of the economic problems that we're having here in Oregon.
After the rally, medical marijuana patients were invited to a cannabis cafe in Southeast Portland to hear several speakers.
Join with us and make a big old scene, because if we're all together, we're really loud and they can't ignore us any longer.
It takes everybody here to go out there and to make a difference. Talk to your legislatures, because now they're going to be running for office. They're going to be coming asking you for your vote. And that's, you know, they want your vote, so you're going to have to ask them, where do they stand on cannabis, right? So ask them, how do they stand, where do they stand with cannabis?
They're not going to stop us. They're just going to incarcerate us, and it needs to end yesterday.
Marijuana is not going to re-legalize itself. And if you're not registered to vote, then you're not going to be part of making it change.
We need to stop pretending that the drug war is working. We need to stop pretending that DARE is working, because none of them are working. None of them are working. So please do what you can to support ending cannabis prohibition as we know it.
But you know, it's real important to support the OCTA, the I-24, the Sensibles, the whatever that comes upon you for freedom, man, and for what your rights are. I mean, a lot of these, they're so close, you know. They're all on this train. They're different. They're all part of different groups, but they're all on the same train. And they get on that train in the morning, and they cruise forward. And that's what we got to do. Our train in our community is one train, and that's the cannabis train. And we all need to get on the cannabis train and chug a lug for freedom.
Portland is one of hundreds of cities worldwide taking part in the 14th annual Global Cannabis March. Hundreds of people joined at Pioneer Courthouse Square, then marched through downtown Portland. The event was streamed live on the web. Supporters want cannabis to be legal. Opponents argue marijuana is addictive and should not be available.
Tired. I've seen my people go to jail.
Fans of marijuana in Portland make their mark on downtown, how they join thousands of other protesters to help make pot legal. It was a busy day for activists who want to see marijuana legalized in Portland and nearly 300 other cities around the world. Today, Portlanders lent their support at the 14th annual Global Cannabis March. They started at Pioneer Courthouse Square and went all the way through downtown. One speaker on the issue put her feelings bluntly. Organizers say if people want to see marijuana legalized, the best way is to tell your congressperson.
Plus, marching for marijuana. The rally held here in town in solidarity with other cities across the globe. Pro-pot demonstrators took to the streets of downtown Portland today. It was all part of the 14th annual Global Cannabis March. Nearly 300 cities across the world took part in today's rally. Locally, participants marched from Pioneer Courthouse Square through downtown Portland. Demonstrators say they want an end to what they call the failed war on marijuana.
Well, the message is kind of, it's about unity and it's about freedom. It really is about freedom. A lot of people think that it's about getting high, and to some maybe it is, but for the majority it's about freedom.
Demonstrators say they're happy with the success both Washington and Colorado had in legalizing pot, and they say they hope Oregon will soon follow suit.
It's the most productive crop. Produces more fuel from its seed oil and its biomass and ethanol, more fiber from its stems for canvas, rope, lace, linen, paper, and building materials, and more food from its seeds, the best protein known to man. So to take the oldest and most productive crop and to prohibit that one is evil. And we're here to protest that, to restore hemp to its rightful place in our economy. If you look right up there where that Mark Emery sign is being held, that's the starting point of the march. So we're going to start when we come back. Congressman Earl Blumenauer will be here to give our keynote speech and a number of other speakers and music for a few hours this afternoon. Again, I want to thank you all for coming. Line up for the march and help us restore hemp.
Oregon has led in innovation nationally. We protected our beaches, the bottle bill, land use. 40 years ago, Oregon was the first state to decriminalize marijuana. And I was an impressionable young legislator, actually voted on that legislation. And there was another debate that occurred during that session. It was led by a conservative Republican pig farmer from Hermiston, Oregon, a remarkable gentleman named Stafford Hansel, who had a distinguished career as a long-term state legislator. He was active in administration. He helped protect the land use system. But Stafford gave what I think was one of the most compelling speeches I've ever heard in my life. Here was a conservative Republican, didn't smoke, drink, swear, who got up and led the state legislature through a tutorial. He pointed out a package of cigarettes that killed 400,000 people a year that was legal. He had a bottle of Jack Daniels. I think it may have been the only time he'd ever held a bottle of liquor. And he pointed out that for some people, alcohol was toxic, and it contributed to the deaths of tens of thousands of people on a highway each year. And then he had a baggie with a marijuana cigarette. And he pointed out that people didn't die from it, that it wasn't as addictive, it wasn't as destructive, and that it was illegal. And he proceeded to defend a bill we had on the floor of the House that would have authorized 2 plants for personal consumption. I'm told by knowledgeable people at the Capitol at that time, if the 19 of us who voted for it had been joined by the people who voted no but smoked dope, that it probably would have passed, and Oregon would have been the first state to legalize adult use. At the same time, Oregon was having this discussion about a more rational approach to marijuana. we were watching at the federal level a war on drugs being launched in the Nixon administration. And it had a much different approach to marijuana. The legacy of that war on drugs was classifying marijuana as a Schedule I drug. The consequences of that are legion. First and foremost, as you know, classifying marijuana as being as dangerous as heroin or LSD is simply false. It's false. Telling people that it is more dangerous than cocaine or methamphetamines, Schedule II, the meth epidemic that is destroying rural and small town communities, suggests we've got our priorities upside down. It also suggests to me part of a need to reappraise what can only be described as a failed war on drugs. We're spending $25 billion a year. We are arresting 750,000 people a year for something that most Americans now think should be legal. And there are, as you're well aware, some of the most egregious racial disparities targeting young African-American men greater than any other sector of the population, even though their use is no greater, maybe even a little less, than white young men. And there are people doing time now as a result of the consequences of this act. We've been involved in Congress in the effort to help rationalize our drug treatment, drug approaches. Part of it is to make sure that the federal government is not interfering in medical marijuana. Part of the lie in federal statute as a category with Schedule I narcotic, it has no medicinal therapeutic value. Not true. And luckily, voters starting in California in 1996 as the first state, followed by Oregon in the next election. We now have 21 states and the District of Columbia representing over 106 million Americans who have access that's legal under state law to medical marijuana. 1 million Americans now are legally authorized to have access, and I have heard countless stories about the difference that it has made in their lives. Part of what we're doing in Congress, and I will tell you, I'm encouraged because we now have 13 pieces of legislation, most of it bipartisan, to try and bring some sense into this upside-down world that is marijuana regulation in the United States. We have legislation and bipartisan support to stop the lunacy of making legal marijuana businesses be all cash enterprises. What's the logic here? If you care about money laundering, if you care about tax evasion, or just burglary, forcing perfectly legal enterprises to pay their taxes with a shopping bag full of $20 bills doesn't make any sense at all. Or because of a quirk in the tax law, forcing them to pay 2 and 3 times higher tax rates again for perfectly legal businesses, is wrong. But I will tell you, some of you are familiar with a conservative Republican tax advocate, Grover Norquist. Grover was with me at a press conference for my bill to allow legal marijuana businesses to deduct their business expenses. That's how far we're coming. That's how far we're coming. Wednesday, on the floor of the House, I had an amendment that would have allowed our veterans to be able to talk to their VA doctors about marijuana. Why should our veterans be treated as second-class citizens in those states where medical marijuana is legal? Why should they not be able to talk to their primary doctor about whether it's right for them or wrong? We weren't successful, but we got 195 votes, including 24 Republicans who said, this doesn't make any sense. And I was told by one of my Republican co-sponsors of the legislation that he was convinced that there were 12 or 13 Republicans who, if they better understood it, would have voted with us. We're on the move in the United States Congress. We passed an amendment that allows research agriculture institutions to research industrial hemp, which passed with a significant yes vote. We now have a dozen states that are poised to allow industrial hemp production, and we have signals from the administration that these are part of the smaller fish that the administration's not going to fry, that we'll be able to proceed with this. And it's about time. Some of you have been involved with trying to promote not just the use of legal hemp products, which of course they are, and they're sustainable, and they're beneficial. It's just that Oregon farmers and ranchers can't grow it. Kentucky tobacco farmers can't grow it. It's got to be imported from outside the United States. Well, we're turning the corner on that. We have to do a better job, I think, of breaking the stranglehold of this pernicious classification that prevents research into marijuana. Up on the Hill, I met with neurologists, people who are dealing with problems of our children. They talked about those with violent epilepsy. These parents are willing to move their families to be able to have access to medical marijuana that will prevent these violent seizures. But the scientists cannot get marijuana to study what works and why. That's an outrage. Oregon was a leader 40 years ago in decriminalization. Oregon has a chance to be the explosion that breaks the dam on marijuana policy nationally. It's great what we have in Washington and Colorado. It's great that we've got 21 states in the District of Columbia with medical marijuana, but we're just on the cusp right now of changing national policy once and for all. It'll be great in Alaska if this summer they legalize adult use, but Alaska is sort of up there and out there. I don't think the land of the midnight sun and Sarah Palin is going to start a national trend. It's great that medical marijuana is on the ballot in Florida this year. 700,000 signatures. But given the Florida Constitution, it'll require a 60% less yes vote to pass, and that's questionable. Here in Oregon, we have an opportunity to cast a ballot for a rational marijuana policy that will be followed across the country. It'll open the floodgates in California in 2016, and we can get down to business. We can tax it, regulate it, keep it out of the hands of the kids, and stop interfering with people's lives. I'd ask you to study it, get involved, sign a petition, and spread the word so that we can have success this November. Oregon can do it. Thank you very much.
Marching for marijuana. Portland, one of 300 cities nationwide, hosting marches and rallies to legalize pot. Portland's rally was at Pioneer Courthouse Square, where people signed petitions for 3 measures that organizers hope will be on the November ballot. All would legalize marijuana for recreational use, like in Washington State and Colorado. One issue in those states is that legal pot is more expensive than what's on the black market.
What we'll do is we'll make cannabis much less expensive. We designed the price structure to wipe out the black market. So our initiative is written specifically to avoid those kind of pitfalls that they're experiencing in Washington and Colorado.
Oregon voted against legal marijuana in 2012, but these folks say attitudes have changed a lot since then.
I was so happy that I got my medical card. Now I don't need one. Now I don't need one. So I'm gonna tell y'all while we enjoy that beautiful plan. I smoke to help alleviate my pain. I smoke to open up my super brain. I smoke to help me manage my life's problems. I smoke to contemplate on how to solve them. I smoke soon as I see the rising sun. I smoke to give my thanks to number one. I smoke, prepare for my day ahead. I smoke, let him take me from here. Fire up the ganja. Take a little toke now, take a little toke. Fire up the ganja. Breathe out the smoke now, breathe out the smoke. Fire up the ganja. Feel it now working, feel it now working. Fire up the ganja. No more hurting now, no more hurting now. No more pain when I fire up the ganja. Pain go away like abracadabra. Me love the side effects, munchies and laughter. But my migraine ain't no laughing matter. Vicodin don't work for me. Make my head feel too dizzy. And NyQuil don't help me sleep. All I need is a puff of the good green tree. I smoke to help alleviate my pain. I smoke to open up my super brain. I smoke to help me manage my life's problems. I smoke to contemplate on how to solve them. I smoke soon as I see the rising sun. I smoke and give my thanks to number one. I smoke, prepare for my day ahead. I smoke to him take me from here. Fire up the ganja. Say what, say what? Take a little toke now, take a little toke. Fire up the ganja. Breathe out the smoke now, breathe out the smoke. Fire up the ganja. Feel it now working, feel it now working. Fire up the ganja. No more hurting now, no more hurting now. Miss Mary Jane, she's so relaxing. She's my prescription. She grows on branches. She helps me deal with the aches and the pain. And she takes all the stress far away from the brain. No pharmaceutical goes back, not taking it. Super silver hazing it, yeah, he great aping it. Hearing it, but hold me down, no, I'm erasing it. And when Mary's with me, she's erasing it. That's why I smoke, to help alleviate my pain. I smoke, to open up my super brain. I smoke, to help me manage my life problem. I smoke, to contemplate on how to solve them. I smoke, as I see the rising sun. I smoke, give my thanks to number one. I smoke, prepare for my day ahead. I smoke, to him take me from here. Fire up the ganja. Everybody, take a little toke now, take a little toke. Fire up the ganja. Breathe out the smoke, breathe out the smoke. Fire up the ganja. Feel it now working, feel it now working. Fire up the ganja. No more hurting now, no more hurting now. Ladies and gentlemen, on guitar, courtesy of my man Justin. Make some noise for Mr. Raynell Hall, y'all.
in town from Los Angeles. Give it to him, rock now. Justin Bridges. Yeah. Come on to the stage, Justin. Rabbit hole edibles. Rabbit hole edibles. Yes. Hey, y'all. Last time I saw this guy, he needed a wheelchair to get around. He's now walking. This is my man Justin Bridges, y'all. Justin James Bridges. AKA the Mad Dabber, baby. He told me a little bit ago, he said, man, I haven't done any pharmaceuticals in 2 years. It's all been massage therapy and cannabis. And cannabis. And cannabis. And cannabis. Massage therapy and cannabis. And cannabis. And cannabis. Massage therapy and cannabis. And cannabis. And cannabis. It was massage therapy and cannabis. Tell them about it, Justin. How they do it, man?
That's right, took a little bit of cannabis and then you see, it makes me what? Yes, it opened up my mind and then I'm free of the chair and I'm walking again. And yes, I sit back and yes, I'm just grinning with friends. And yes, we wrecking, flipping, going off and gonna be spitting it. We always coming through and yes, we always gonna be hitting it. And yes, I pass it to the left and maybe to the right. But I'm gonna tell you one thing, yes, I'm dabbing it all night. But and yes, we having our fun. We gon' keep on coming through and yes, we joined under the sun to just show what? Yes, we all being blessed by this one plant that we all love, never rest. Now hold up, and this war was not over until all our prisoners out of jail. And yes, you know what, soldier, that's right, it's time to what? Yes, free everybody, cause we need a little weed and we keep it going, Massage therapy and cannabis, and cannabis, and cannabis, massage therapy and cannabis, and cannabis, and cannabis, massage therapy and cannabis, and cannabis, and cannabis, massage therapy and cannabis, and cannabis. Yo, Justin. Y'all give it up for Justin James. We love you, man. Thank you, brother. He let us use the guitar so our show will roll cool. Thank you for that, too, bro. Congratulations. We're going to tell your story worldwide, brother. Promise you that. LK, I love you, LK. I love you, LK. In the building. Yeah, baby. Yes. Lori Duckworth, I love you, baby. TAC Foundation in the building. What's up, y'all? Yes. Keith and Christy, man, I know y'all not here, but I love you. My guy had a heart attack in California. He on the Oregon Cannabis Connection newspaper, man. Y'all need to pick that up. It got all the latest details on what's happening in your cannabis community, man. That's what's up. Give yourselves a round of applause for being here today on this beautiful day. We in Portland's living room, y'all.
How y'all doing out there, Portland, Oregon? So let me start off by telling you a little bit about myself. I have muscular dystrophy. I was diagnosed at the age of 3, in my first electric chair by the age of 5. I was known as a pothead. People never understood that I needed certain things to make my days go. Well, when I learned that I wasn't a pothead, I was a medicator. I was free from the world. So, you know, we have women, children, men out there that are dying because they cannot get this plant. They cannot have free access to the meds they need. They are not able to get themselves out of bed. They are not able to maintain a family life because the government says we are wrong. Y'all feel we are wrong? I don't. I think we all deserve the right to be free and to take the medicine we need to help us relieve our lifestyles and pains, whether it be PTSD, tremors, stomach aches, whatever. If you know it's your medicine, you deserve the right to use it. It's just, to me, it's just really sad that people are dying and people have to fight for it. If you cannot have access to your medicine, what are you going to do? You fight, just to be told you're going to die? It's not right. You know, we have the access. We need to make it right for everybody. So I'm going to wrap it up, make it real kind of quick and simple. Medical, social, recreational, whatever it is, you all have the right to choose if you need it or not. And on that note, let's get ready for this great march.
Really nice to be here. I'm just feel so privileged and proud to be here with all of you today. It's really great. My name is Kimberly McCullough. I'm the Legislative Director with the ACLU of Oregon. I want to tell you a little bit about the ACLU before I get into everything else, just so you know, because not everybody does. ACLU has been around for over 100 years. We've been on the front lines of pretty much every civil rights and civil liberties issue in the country. We're a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization. We work on free speech, racial justice, prisoners' rights, human rights, humane police practices, privacy, religious liberty, reproductive rights, LGBT rights, immigrant rights, and much, much more. We believe these rights are fundamental to a free society, and that's why we fight every day across the country in the courts and in the legislatures, and also through public education. As I'm sure you all agree, the war on marijuana is a failure. It has needlessly ensnared hundreds of thousands of people in the criminal justice system at a tremendous cost. More than half of all drug-related offenses in the state of Oregon are for marijuana. Over the last decade, Oregon police have arrested and cited more than 95,000 Oregonians for marijuana possession. That's the equivalent of arresting or citing every single person in the entire city of Hillsborough. In 2010, we spent over $50 million enforcing marijuana laws. What's more, the war on marijuana has been enforced along color lines. Even though black and white Oregonians use marijuana at about the same rate, black Oregonians are roughly 2 times more likely to be cited or arrested for marijuana offenses. And some areas of Oregon are actually even worse than that. In Lane County, it's 3.5 times more likely for doing the same thing at the same rate as everybody else. Last November, Oregon voters said enough is enough. Our money and resources should be spent on measures that actually keep our communities safe, like investigating serious crimes and reinvesting in public health programs, including drug treatment. Rather than wasting time and money, clogging our courts and jails, and destroying lives and families, the people of Oregon voted to legalize and regulate marijuana. At the same time, what the voters absolutely did not say is, let's throw medical marijuana users under the bus. People who are sick need access to their medication. Let me say that again. People who are sick need access to their medication. The ACLU was right there with you fighting for the medical marijuana program, and we will continue to fight to protect it. Yeah. The voters also did not say endanger our privacy and over-regulate marijuana. Yet some of the proposals that have been made in the Oregon legislature this session would do just that if enacted into law. As the legislative director for the ACLU, I'm down in the Capitol every day. I've been fighting very, very hard to ensure the privacy of our medical patients, the privacy of our recreational users, and to make sure that these new regulations don't just simply create another method of criminalizing marijuana use. I'm also absolutely dedicated to work with Representative Frederick and anybody else who wants to get involved to expunge all nonviolent marijuana-related convictions from Oregon residents. It makes absolutely no sense to legalize marijuana and not clear the records of people with marijuana offenses. No Oregonian should be serving time in prison for marijuana, and no Oregonian should have to suffer the collateral consequences of having a conviction for marijuana for one more day. I want to tell you now unequivocally, your voice is extremely important. And it's very powerful in Salem. When I'm down in the Capitol, I hear legislators regularly talk about the communications that they get from the people of Oregon. It actually does make a difference when you sit down and write a letter, particularly when you write it in your own words. So please look up your legislators, look them up online, email them, tell them what you think. Tell them to enact fair and safe guidelines for Measure 91 and hold them accountable. Tell them to honor the will of the voters who said it was time for a new approach to marijuana. to honor the privacy of Oregonians who use marijuana, to expunge marijuana convictions, and to protect the medical program. I have to do this. I want to encourage you to support the ACLU. We need your support. Membership is as little as $5 for students. It's really easy to do. Just look us up online, ACLU of Oregon. That helps make our voice stronger. We will continue to fight this fight because we believe the criminal justice system is broken. We want to end not just the war on marijuana, but the war on drugs more generally. The drug war has failed to improve public safety and health. It's placed an unprecedented number of people behind bars, and it's severely eroded our constitutional rights. All that search and seizure law, all of those ways that the government invades our privacy, so much of that has been done in the name of fighting the war on drugs instead of actually helping the American people. So together, I believe we can end the drug war. We can reverse the tide of mass incarceration and protect our constitutional rights. Thank you.
Greetings from Northeast Portland and from the Capitol and from Salem. Listen, I'm not going to talk long. I know you all have been here for a long day already. I just wanted to update you on what's going on in Salem right now. Now, as you probably know, it's a passage of 91 was just the beginning of a process. Laws don't spell out all the procedures required to make them work, and some of that's being hammered out by the Oregon Liquor Control Commission, as well as some of it in the legislature. In fact, yesterday, the OLCC put together a group of committees that are going to look at rules and licensing and quality and financing and extracts and infused items and growers. They're going to look at all those different issues. But I want to tell you, I'm not going to talk about those. I know that I was asked to speak because of a bill I introduced in the beginning of to start the process of cleaning up some of the effects of the so-called war on drugs. Unfortunately, that bill, 3372, probably isn't going to make it through the process this time. Fortunately, another bill will. Okay? It won't do everything I'd hope, but as Mick Jagger would have been talking about at the legislative process, he said you can't always get what you want. So what are we trying to do? Well, it's important to recognize the extreme criminalization of certain marijuana-related activities has done more harm to our communities than the drug itself ever could. Combined with Measure 11, it put a lot of people behind bars and gave a lot of people felony records for actions that will not be criminal in the future. A stint in prison is not the end of one's so-called debt to society. A felony record can follow you for the rest of your life, closing doors to housing and employment, disrupting families and dragging the whole community down. We should have learned that from the experience of alcohol prohibition in the 1920s and early 30s, but we had to run the experiment again, it seems. And now as we come to our senses and create a system in which cannabis is legal but regulated in the future, we also need to do something about the harm that's been done by the prohibition in the past. And that's why I introduced a bill to create a path to the expungement of records of nonviolent marijuana-related records. And the reduction of sentences for similar offenses for people who are still in custody or under supervision. This is a high priority for me to do something about this, because while I won't deny that crime affects our community, and I won't deny that incarceration sometimes is an appropriate response to criminal acts, I also believe that it has been used too often where it makes no sense at all, creating criminals out of people who are doing no harm. We need to fix that for the future and also reach back and fix what has happened in the past. Now, as I said, 3372 is not going to make it, but details matter a lot in the legislative process, and we just couldn't work out through the details in the time that we had. I understand, however, that there'll be another bill coming through the committee on implementing the Senate and House Committee on implementing Measure 91. In the Capitol, that's called the Joint Committee on Marijuana, just so that you know. Yes, it's a joke, and everyone seems to like it. Well, except for some of the folks here. I urge you to use the online Oregon Legislative Information System, OLIS. Look that up, OLIS, to keep informed about what the committee is doing. And I hope you'll pay more attention to this, to more than this one issue, because I want you to make this issue your gateway issue for more involvement in our policy-making process. Our system works better when people watch and take part, and that means you. And I want to also just thank you for coming out and being so active in the campaign last year, and stay active. We need to have you continue to listen to what's going on, to watch, to talk with everyone. Know who your legislators are. Do you know who your legislators are? How many of you know who your legislators are? All right, if you don't, you need to look it up and find out who that is and go and talk with them. Let them know that you're out there, let them know that you're watching and that you want to have some things changed. As I said, I don't think my particular bill is going to make it through, but I believe we will get a bill that'll come through in some form that'll work, that'll certainly make things a little better for the folks who have been incarcerated, who have records, and who are presently incarcerated. Maybe we'll get some changes, and that'll only become because you decide to work for it. So thank you very much. Take care.
So did you see them? Marijuana protesters took to the streets in downtown Portland yesterday for the Global Cannabis March. But this year's demonstration a bit different from years past because it came just one day after all those May Day protests in the same spot. KT's Corey Marshall has the story.
Good morning, Matt. The message, they say, is twofold. There's that voter victory to celebrate from back in November, but they say there's also some fine-tuning that needs to be done when it comes to regulation. About a year and a half ago, doctors gave Janice Patton an ultimatum.
You know, continue without the medicine, you're not going to make it. Eventually you'll have a seizure and die. Or you can have the brain surgery.
The mother and grandmother has intracranial hypertension. It's a condition where the body doesn't absorb spinal fluid properly, causing it to build up in her brain. They searched for a third option, a last chance, if you will, and came across Michaela's website. The Cyber Journal shared the journey of then 7-year-old Michaela, who had leukemia, was going through chemo treatments and taking cannabis oil to offset side effects. Patton started taking cannabis oil, and today, she says, hasn't had any seizures or hospitalizations since.
My doctor told me in February I'm in remission from this illness.
So on a sunny Saturday in Pioneer Courthouse Square, Patton and, as she calls her, brave Michaela, have united, sharing their stories alongside dozens of other cannabis supporters. It's part of the 16th annual Global Cannabis March.
Celebration and determination, I would say.
The celebration part, they say, is simple. It's been about 6 months since voters made recreational marijuana legal. The determination part is a little more complicated. 2 proposed bills sit in the Oregon legislature that would place regulations on medical marijuana growers, limiting the number of plants they can grow.
This is what the majority of Oregon voted to legalize, and we're still here fighting for it. We're not going to go anywhere.
So it's a scary thing for me. This is life or death for me. I have a 9-year-old daughter. I have grandkids. I want to see those. I want to be here for them.
Now, organizers say Portland is one of 300 cities worldwide to participate in the Global Cannabis March. In downtown Portland, Corey Marshall, K2 News.
And what he didn't tell you is for the last 9 months, I've been a cancer survivor, guys. So if anybody tells you that Rick Simpson oil don't work, look, you're looking at it, guys. They told me I was going to go away in September. I'm still here. I plan on being here for some time coming, so as long as I can keep getting Rick Simpson oil, I'll be around, guys. But I'm really here to talk about the Cannabis Common Sense Tour. We did a great job on the West Coast tour of it, and we're going to be taking off on the East Coast coming this summer. So keep a lookout for it, man. If you don't know anything about it, it's a way that we put money on the books of marijuana activists that are in jail for marijuana crimes. So it's a great tour. It's going to be a great cause. Come out and get behind it, guys.
John, I know you're ready to play some music.
Yes, sir, I am. You know, that last story really pertained to me, Paul.
That hits home for you, I know.
Yeah, I'm alive because of cannabis today. I would be 6 foot under or toasted somewhere. Anyway, this is a song I think it fits right about now. We need to come together here, folks. We are many, we are strong. Cause so many be so wrong. Giving in too many lies. Doesn't anybody really care why? Can it be that we are right? Can we be peaceful through this fight? All we really want to see is humanity set free. We're just one big family, once united, we are free. Now's the time to make a stand and do the best that each one can. Once awakened, we will see the potential of infinity. In abundance will be the norm when we are finally through this storm. Can it be that we are right? Can we be peaceful through this fight? All we really want to see is humanity set free. We're just one big family, once united, we are free. Now's the time to make a stand, do the best that each one can. We're just one big family, once united, we are free. Now's the time to make a stand and do the best that each one can.
Thank you.
We're going to go out with one last song with Mr. John Cornette. Tune in we'll have a show next week, not a live one, but a pre-recorded show. I'm going to be off seeing Paul McCartney. We'll be back the week after that and help us restore him.